And I realized I wasn't streaming halfway through your tirade there. You know, we had to make sure that
I
wasn't on
think
stream
Dark
because
Souls.
that was way out of line. But
my tirade.
yeah.
Listen, it's fair.
We have a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yes. So let's see. So we have Dark Souls 2. We have Juju. Tons of stuff. Noah's definitely gonna have to dip out for the One Piece talk. I don't know how much you have to say about One Piece at the moment, but I'm loving it right now.
I could have some things to say about it.
Yeah, there's Hunter x Hunter news, which I have remained completely blind on, so I
Yeah,
can
that's
let you
gonna be a
tell me
fun
about.
one. That's gonna be a fun one.
And let's see, is there anything else? Well, I'm sure if there is more, we'll get to it. Also, fair warning that I am sleepy, so I might get a little derailed at a couple points, and my goal is to have this be like about 2 hours.
Okay.
Try not to go too much over that.
Sounds good.
Because I worked at 4 a.m. this morning. But I am off tomorrow at least, so we can go a little later.
Fair enough. But
See, and then I think, yeah. So what do you want to start with?
Well, you're already on the subject of Dark Souls 2. You're doing Dark Souls 2. Why
Yeah.
not?
So Dark Souls 2.
Give us a
Dark
primer
Souls
about
2 is my
how you're
Tears of the
feeling
Kingdom.
about it. It's your Tears of the Kingdom. Don't reference that. I stopped working on that video out of self-preservation.
Yeah. So Tears of the Kingdom is or Dark Souls 2. I absolutely love it. I'm having a bit of a struggle right now at the DLC areas. But I absolutely love Dark Souls 2. I'm playing the Scholar version, which I hear is more difficult.
It's more annoying for sure. I think
But
I think the base game's just better, in my opinion.
yeah, so like my main opinion on Dark Souls 2 is that it's a much easier game than Dark Souls 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like it feels a lot more fair a lot of times to me.
But Ray, a lot of Dark Souls 1 was learning like pattern recognition. A lot of Dark Souls 2 is like learning what funky thing they're gonna throw at you and then learning to avoid it essentially instead of like just specific pattern recognition like Dark Souls 1 was.
Because like a lot of like what I'm doing in Dark Souls 2 feels a lot more like how do I put it? It's like, and I know that part of this is also because I've already played Dark Souls 1 and Bloodborne, so like I'm just gonna be better at the vibes from the start.
Yeah.
But for the most part in Dark Souls 2, I kind of feel like I know what I'm doing most of the time. A lot of the enemies are very like understandable. There have been very few spots where I felt like completely stumped. Minus the 2 DLC areas that I've gotten stuck at now. But like for the most part, I'm just having like a really good, comfy time with Dark Souls 2.
And I feel bad about you getting stuck in the DLC areas because those it's the best part of Dark Souls 2 in many ways.
Yeah, like I want to say, like right up until I got to the whatever her name is, the sunken queen princess thing. Right up until I got to her, absolutely loved the sunken city area. Like, definitely was hands down my favorite area up to that point. Although the Grave of Saints, I think it's called, the like grave area, or not Grave of Saints, whatever the grave area is in there, where you right before that fight against like the 3 NPCs.
Yeah.
That fight sucks balls. And that whole area sucks balls. It is awful and terrible. So I'm stuck pretty hard on that part right now.
Sorry if you heard my sister
And
yell right now. She's playing with the dogs.
no, it's okay. It's okay. That being said, though, I'm still enjoying it a lot. I think that like my favorite area so far in Dark Souls 2, I'd say, which I can't fully comment on like the DLC areas because I haven't played them all the way through. So like just base game, my favorite area has been gonna pull up the list at the end to look through. Okay, yeah. So my favorite area has probably been the gutter, I think.
It's your free choice to choose that.
Wait, no. Okay, no. So it's Lost Bastille,
Okay.
then the gutter, and then probably either No Man's Wharf or the Brightstone Cove.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like most of the areas in here. Like I really did like Shrine of Amana, Dragon Eyrie, and Dragon Shrine. If I have one complaint, is that some of the areas just feel really short and tiny.
Okay. Fair enough.
Like it feels like there's a lot more bonfires here, and I don't know if I'm just better at finding them or if they just aren't hidden as well as in Dark Souls 1.
There are some hidden ones that I'm sure you missed.
Oh yeah, I can see on like the travel screen like how I missed some.
Did you ever find the secret one in Earthen Peak? Did you ever find that one?
Uh, yes, I did. I did.
Mm. That's an
Wait,
important one.
by secret one, do you mean the one that's like the one that's like outside on like a balcony?
No, not that one.
Oh, then no, I didn't. Oh yeah, I see. There's a bonfire there I didn't find.
There's
Yeah, then I
one
did not find it.
like a hidden wall above the boss fight.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say also, I liked a lot of the bosses in this game, but there were like a couple that I really could not stand.
Mm.
Oh,
Demon
I
of
haven't
Song.
had a bot in so long.
Demon of Song.
Demon of Song, I didn't mind that much.
I love Demon of Song. I love that fight. It always goes by too fast, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's see. Forget how do I ban somebody?
There should be like a right click option, or there should be like a cross next to the name. Not like a Jesus Christ cross, but like do not pass.
Let's see. Oh, there it is. There it is. Ban. All right, done.
Looking for these.
But yeah, I wish we could have had this conversation like 2 weeks ago because I was like thinking about it and I was like all ready to go with like tons of details and thoughts. But now I'm just kind of
Let it leave your brain.
yeah. Let's see. I will say, as for the dudes in armor criticism, like the thing that like I've heard about Dark Souls 2 like more than anything else, most of the best bosses in this game are dudes in armor, so like I have no complaints.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to make dudes in armor than it is to make like weird floppish demon. You know?
Yeah. I am really excited to fight the slumbering dragon. Like I am like actually excited to do that boss, which is why I'm kind of bummed that I'm stopped by 2 bosses that are before him.
He's a fun one. Both the main bosses in the second DLC are like some of the best bosses in the series. I don't know if you've gotten to them yet.
I have not gotten to them. I haven't done any of the bosses in the Iron Keep DLC yet, but I am excited to get there eventually.
Yeah, one of the bosses is like literally known for being like amazing. So, and then the final boss of the final DLC is also really good.
Oh yeah, that's right. You fight Alon, the samurai guy, right?
Yes, Alon's great.
Yeah.
Fun fact about Alon: if you can beat him,
that.
if you can beat him without getting hit to 5% of his health, he'll kill himself. So.
Oh heck yeah!
It's a samurai's honor.
That ain't gonna happen.
That's the only reason why I tell you, because I know you probably won't run into it naturally. It's a fun little.
What's that supposed to mean?
Fun little nod to samurai culture. Fun, quote unquote.
Yeah. I am still a spear boy, like playing exclusively with spears.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm having a good time with. The variety of spears in this game is a lot better than in Dark Souls 1. The fact that there are plenty of spears that let you have like a wide swing attack option is very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I've basically just been using the Heidi spear for most of the game because it's electric.
Heidi.
Oh, is that not how it's pronounced?
I think it's just Hyde. Since I've
been using the Hyde spear.
It was Hyde's Tower of Flame or whatever. I could be wrong, but could just be me. But well, I'm sorry you ran into the snag. I will say the queen fight, it's not really that great. It's probably,
I think the fact that the enemies she summons are random is what really gets me. Because like if it was always like 3 skeletons and then Velstadt, you know, it'd be one thing. Sometimes skeletons, sometimes Velstadt, sometimes the frickin' pigs that are just impossible to hit and just take so little damage for no gosh darn reason.
Yeah.
The pigs that KO'd me like a dozen times at the start of the game. It was on the run where I encountered the pigs that I finally gave up. Okie, get away from my keyboard, baby.
Yeah, the pigs is literally a nod to the beginning of the game, how the fact that a lot of players got their ass beat by those pigs, and everyone complained about it. So I'm pretty sure that's why those pigs are there in that fight.
Ooh, Rain of Blades +1. But yeah, mixed opinions on Dark Souls 2, but overall pretty positive. I'm having a great time. I had even less fun with Dark Souls 2 at the start, I think, than I had with Bloodborne when I first played that.
Okay.
But I'm having almost as much fun now that I've gotten used to it. Minus a couple levels. I also think I might need to just respec, since you can do that in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm pretty sure I've got like some wasted points. Like I could probably like have a more optimal like armor to equip load ratio or whatnot.
Yeah. I think, you know, if you feel like your time's up with the game, you know, don't stretch yourself. But I do think you'll want to see some of the other DLC bosses, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, if I really hit the point where I don't want to like do any more at all, then I would probably go and like at least try out the Ivory Tower. Like before I just like gave up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I wish I had more like concerted things to say about Dark Souls 2, but I just cannot remember any of the specific stuff I wanted to talk about.
Well, there you go. There's our Dark Souls 2 talk.
Yeah, Dark Souls 2 talk. All done. All done. Only other video game I've played recently, besides, you know, like I'm always playing Pokemon and whatnot, is I played through The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog.
I hear it's good.
Took me a while. It was fantastic.
The Sega can't make a base Sonic game to save their ass, but when it comes to funny, goofy spin-offs,
Fan-freaking-tastic.
they do a good job, apparently. But I don't know, I'll probably play that game in the future sometime, so.
Yeah, it's really good. My wife played through it one night while I was in bed, and then the next morning she was immediate like, Cory, we just have to play through this together tomorrow. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, did you say that you really liked Espio? And I'm like, yeah, I love Espio. He used to be my favorite. And she's like, okay, yeah, we really need to play through this together.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it, but one day I'll probably play it because I like that theme of game, and I like the Sonic characters enough.
Yeah. Let's see. And then yeah, but that's all for me in the world of gaming. Nothing too crazy interesting to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, besides RuneScape League's just been. Have you seen any of the Lethal Company stuff lately online?
I have not. Not even sure 100% what that is.
That's like it's a game where you and your friends go around and collect scrap and bring it into a space station. But
okay.
the hook is each planet that you go to has violent aliens that want to kill you on it.
Okay, good.
And there's a VoIP that's like if you're close by and stuff, and it's just a fun time, is what I'd say, with friends. It's one of those spooky, goofy games where you just have a fun time, and then like something jumps up and kills someone. And
okay.
But it's been making waves online, and it's pretty fun. I can't say. I can testament to its fun, especially if you get like there's a mod that lets you have larger lobbies up to like a large amount of people, and just getting like 10 people into a lobby, running around and stuff. It's funny. But other than that, I've been hankering. Oh, hello, sorry for bothering you. I want to offer a promotion to your channel. Oh, Ribbid Shock, you don't have to bother me. You can promote. Feel free to promote. Feel free. Go and promote to your heart's content, you know?
Wow. Same people in both streams.
So how did you ban this person again? I found it out. I figured it out. There we go.
Yeah. How to say that you haven't been streaming in a while without saying you've been streaming in a while.
But other than that, I've been doing. I'm kind of interested in the game making process again. game making. I'm in like
Mm-hmm.
my final month of school, so obviously I'm not going to do it right now. But what kind of got me interested is I've been getting recommended a lot of YouTube videos of people doing like neural network evolution sims.
Mm.
And I don't know how to explain it other than if you were to watch the videos, but basically it's like um, basically you give a bunch of neurons, input neurons, output neurons, and like neutral base neurons into a code that all can do different things. Like for instance, like one will be like if you see like the color green, do something, or one will be like if go north or something like that. Like, and they link together based off of how the creature that has spawned like genome is set up. So like a genome might be set up so that if it sees the color green, it moves north essentially, or something like that, and it would pass that genes on to its children and that kind of thing. And like depending on if it survives, the generation, that kind of thing. To me,
Mm-hmm.
it's really interesting, and I've been very interested in it. But it also takes a lot of CPU to like get it up and running, and so I'm like, I don't know. I kind of want to like make a project where it's just like you make like an evolution sim. But if I did, I'd want it to be something similar to like established properties that have already been a little bit
Mm-hmm.
successful, like Spore. But I'd want to do it with like Spore with a neural network learning essentially, or something like that, like neural network evolution. But that would be like very difficult to to do.
Yeah.
So I'm interested and I'm looking, but for right now I'm a bit busy in my time. But I just keep getting recommended
Mm-hmm.
those videos, and I'm like,
I want to do the thing.
more or less. But
I know.
hmm, you're
I know.
Cory. What do you mean?
Yeah. I know. I know. I know. I've been very busy with like day job visa past like month or so, and then
Mm-hmm.
also just a lot of like life stuff happening. So I have
Yeah.
not been able to like do any of my like because I'm taking like classes on the side and whatnot, like
Yeah.
on Udemy and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, However, I have not been able to do any of those in like a month because holidays. So I've been doing a lot of extra
Yeah.
time in at the or overtime work. And then if something comes up, like a dog gets sick or
Mm-hmm.
a part of the house messes up, and suddenly I just don't have the energy to put that extra 8 hours into learning React.
Yeah, sometimes life be like that. Also, you're learning React. You. React is better than JavaScript, so I'll give you that.
Listen, React is just JavaScript, but you're just putting your HTML and CSS in the same file.
And also not with the. I've never used React, so I can't say this for certain, but I'm assuming not with a bunch of arbitrary rules that suck ass. I hate JavaScript.
Uh, well, I know there's going to be a bunch of arbitrary rules. Don't know how much they suck or not. Because it is still JavaScript. It's just a JavaScript library.
Listen, JavaScript was the first language I learned, and I regret it every day. Garbage ass language. Then the whole fucking web uses it. So I'm more than happy for React to come in and take a piece of the damn pie. But I digress. Sorry for making that nasty sound. We're gonna move on to what else do we want to talk about?
Let's see. So, did you want to talk about like current Juju stuff first?
Sure.
Like Juju slash One Piece or okay. Yeah, so Jujutsu Kaisen, we just got the end to or well, probably end to maybe my favorite series of chapters.
It's so good.
Like, why were we told this guy was not funny? Takaba's hilarious.
Yeah, it's kind of weird seeing all the flashbacks, everyone being like, "You're not funny," and then snap cut to these chapters, which are very very humorous. I guess it's something where it's like I think he's like supposed to represent like the old guard of comedy kind of thing, the more slapstick style, I guess, which might not be as hip with the kids these days. Maybe that's what the angle they're going for. I don't know. I find it
So
funny.
how I Oh, I think it's hilarious. So like what my actual thought about it is, because like I have been obviously thinking about Takaba a lot. Oh, by the way, I do now ship Takaba and Kenjaku, not necessarily because I think they'd be a good couple, but because Yuji and Choso deserve a good stepdad. But my kind of angle on on like Takaba not being like particularly funny is more to do with his kind of like obsession with convention.
True.
Like he wants to do the right things and he has studied and he knows what he's doing and he is just like so completely like married to it. But in doing so, he can't really connect to any of the people around him. And so as a result, he cuz like his real dream is to do duo comedy, but he doesn't have anyone to duo with cuz he's like a really pretentious prick. However, lucky for him, in these last few chapters, he has come across perhaps the most pretentious of pretentious pricks possible, a shonen long-term villain.
It's true.
That's kind of my like current thoughts about it, and I love it so much.
I think my favorite part with him is the flashback where it shows him and his at the time duo partner in the like the swan outfits.
I know,
And he's like,
and we
"What?"
have the
And he's like,
close-up
"What
on
the
his.
fuck are we doing?" And he's like, "Huh?"
What do you mean? What are we doing?
It's so good.
And I'm also incredibly interested to see what happens in the next few chapters, because a topic I've been thinking about a lot and have kind of like wanted to like spitball back and forth with you a little bit is specifically on Kenjaku's humanity. Because like there are some really interesting parts with him, especially as I kind of like reread a few chapters and we're going over some things.
Okay.
Like in particular, the part where he thanks the kids from the start of the series, or well, the girl that was friends with Yuji. And it's like, there's two ways to look at that little scene. The first is that there's no other way to make sure that the audience knows who this is without putting like in a text bubble that says this is the girl from the first arc. And so Kenjaku is says something to her specifically to give a callback to the arc that people will recognize, while not feeling like too out of too out of world, just saying look at this character, look how long it's been since the start. That's explanation one in my head. Explanation two is that Kenjaku does actually feel some specific kinship with Yuji specifically, like separate from his other creation slash children, or like he cares about it, or Yuji is not a failure to him, or at least not a failure yet. That's idea two. I don't personally believe in that one super strongly, but it's possible. But then the third option is that Kenjaku does actually care about people. Like, he doesn't care who lives or dies, really.
Mm-hmm.
But Kenjaku is one of those, like, but like I think it's like a fairly common trope, but one of those, like, doesn't care much for individual people, but like loves people
Mm-hmm.
and is just eternally interested by them. And so specifically like that like moment of humanity with Kenjaku has been really interested in me and like stuck in my craw for a little while. And so getting to see these chapters in particular kind of start to explore that,
Mm-hmm.
the way he's just like bored and talking to like corpses of the players of the Culling Game after he's already killed them, and he's forgetting who he's even talking to.
And I think
And then like
it's interesting because we don't even really know. Like, we know some of his aims with this Culling Game, but we don't even know like who this person even is really. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
Like, and like we don't know what their drives is with all these like plans that they've had and these experiments and stuff, and we know the purpose behind the Culling Game, but we don't know how it plays into their larger picture essentially.
mm-hmm.
So it's like we don't know yet. We don't know.
But it's like really interesting, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I really as like the series has gone on, because like obviously like even in Shibuya, Kenjaku is interesting, but like there's not like a whole lot going on with him yet. But like especially like at this point, Kenjaku is just so interesting to me, and I'm just really enjoying every moment he's on screen.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is really important because every moment we're here with Kenjaku, we're not with Sukuna.
True. And very important stuff that's going on right now.
Yeah. That being said, do you have any particular Juju thoughts weighing on you?
No. Um. I like this little detour that we've been having. It's funny to say detour when it is comprised of like what is probably the main villain of the series, but
Yeah.
fun little detour we've been having. And I'm also excited to get back to the main action. So Juju has been nothing but great in my estimation.
Yeah. So are you still of the opinion that you don't like Dojo's death?
I mean, I don't dislike the death itself, like I said, and I think Gage knows how to write a character death and how to make it interesting, and how to like write around it, and that kind of thing. It wasn't the death that bothered me. It's the fact that after he died in his own mind, he was like, "Yo, he's so sick, dude. I wish I was more like him, dude." He is the Chad. I am the Wojak, Soy Jack. Like, it just felt weird for a character like that. That with the best of intentions, we can assume Gojo is just like a try hard. You know what I mean? And so it's like
Yeah.
seeing him be like, "Oh, he's just better than me, dude. He's just better. I just suck." It's just weird.
Please don't break. Okay,
Yeah, that's it for that.
yeah, I think that's it I have for the moment. All right, yeah. So now on to One Piece.
One Piece.
Yeah, One Piece is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, this entire Kuma flashback has been fantastic. I think a lot to think about, and every chapter has
Mm-hmm.
only gotten better.
I think the Kuma
Did you hear
flashbacks.
anything? Because I know that yeah, I know that last chapter was unfinished from what I heard. I
Yes.
don't know if anything like any official statements were made about that or whatnot.
I'm not sure if there are any official statements, but I mean, you could look at the fucking panels.
Yeah.
It definitely looked unfinished, but I don't think it really ruined the quality that much. I mean, I've seen some
No,
Hunter
like
x Hunter chapters that have looked a lot worse
you
than
can also
that.
tell that you can also kind of tell that like they realized it wouldn't be finished, and so Oda or someone was like, "Okay, these are the panels we're gonna leave undone. That's an artistic choice now. We're going with it."
Yeah, and the panels that were left undone don't look like awful. You know what I mean? Like
No.
we're going through a very like dark and dreary moment in this this flashback right now. You know, so it's like these rough lines and like these half finished things. It almost kind of fits with the thematic of the flashback at the moment. So it's almost like, it's okay. Obviously, it'll get cleaned up when it finishes.
Yeah, it was also only like I think it was less than like the normal amount of pages. Last week's chapter was.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, still good. And this chapter was also very good. Really makes me hate Vegapunk and his stupid face.
I was gonna say. So you remember? I'm starting to have some disillusions with some of the built up characters of the series. This is what I want to talk about. I was trying to think of what I want to talk about with One Piece. Do you remember when I talked about Sengoku?
Yes, yes.
How it's really fucking weird that everybody in the series just treats him like a kooky old man when he literally like did horrid things when he was the leader of the Marines, commanded murder of pregnant women and their newborn children, like among other things. Like he did awful things, and people just treat him like, oh, that's kooky old Sengoku. You know, he's retired now. He's going around doing his
Yeah.
own thing. You know, he's probably leading sword or whatever. And it just feels like a really weird disconnect.
And that one wasn't even like a pass it off on it being like the elders or something. That one was like just full on him.
Mm-hmm. And like there are two other characters now that I feel very similar towards. You want to take a guess who those are?
Dr. Vegapunk.
Yes, for sure.
And Dragon?
Yep. So I'll explain. Dr. Vegapunk is oft treated like, oh, you know, he knows so much and he's like this wacky old man and he just asks for strange things. He's asking Kuma to become a weapon for the Navy that has done nothing but like be horrible to Kuma. Kuma's just like, yeah, sure, whatever, no big deal. Like this should be like internal turmoil for Kuma. Like, do I save my daughter or do I turn my body over to the Navy? Essentially, instead he's just like, well, I guess I gotta do it. Like. And Vegapunk's just treated like, oh yeah, he's our ally. Don't worry about it. You know, he's with the Navy, but he's one of the good ones. Like, it's so weird.
Yeah. I will say that like for this chapter in particular, I actually don't mind it.
Mm-hmm.
For this chapter in particular, because for me, Kuma being like, because like I don't think, at least in this, like it doesn't read to me like Kuma is like does not know what's going to happen with this. I think Kuma understands.
Well,
but I think Kuma feels no.
The issue is Vegapunk's like, oh, I'm going to create these guys, and they're going to be like, they're going to be saving people, and Kuma's like, well, I guess if they're going to be saving people, like if Vegapunk said that they were going to be like, you know, hurting people, then maybe I wouldn't agree to it. Because he said they're saving people, I agree to it. So, that was the reasoning. It felt like they used.
I don't know. To me, it kind of felt like Kuma was just like, yeah, I don't know if. So for me, it felt like Kuma like knows that obviously those things are going to be weapons used by the Navy, and it won't be good. But also, like, I feel like he does like believe Vegapunk will at least hold up his end of the deal, and he does think Vegapunk's a good person. So he's like, all right, I'll give this on over. Bonnie's more important. And Vegapunk is just such a stupid little.
No, I agree that Kuma would agree to do it, even if the stakes were a bit different. I think he would still agree to do it to save Bonnie. The issue is, it just feels like it's totally like, he met Vegapunk for 5 seconds on the word of dragon, who I'll get to that motherfucker in a second. and he's like, yes, it seems like a stand-up guy, you know, he's worked for the Navy his whole life and has produced weapons for them, and among other things. But he told me in one sentence he wants to make these things to be, you know, peaceful instead of warlike. So, you know, I trust him. Like, it feels weird. There's a bit of a disconnect there from me, the reader, and me, the person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
I feel like
this should be
feel
handled with a little bit more brevity. I don't know. Like, obviously, Vengapunk's supposed to be a bit of a morally gray character, but it feels like he's not treated as much. And I say obviously, but you know, maybe in the modern day he isn't, because like he removed the 6 parts of his brain, and one of them might be the evil part that was doing weird things. So maybe that's the one that's like really he can be forgiven of his sins, because the I don't know. It feels so weird.
I mean,
it feels so weird that this is the same series that had like a dozen arcs later had Jinbei like getting down and apologizing to Nami for unleashing Arlong into the East Blue. Like such an intelligent moment to be written, like where a character from so long ago is brought back up for forgiveness on another character's arc, and it's like it feels so weird that we're getting that, and then we're getting like he's a kooky scientist. Sure, the things he does is kind of morally corrupt, but like, you know, he's a kooky scientist. Everyone loves him. Like, it feels strange. It feels like similar to what we were saying when we were talking about 103. It feels like I'm reading a different series at some points. Which is not to say that it's bad, because I really like what's going on in the series right now. But like, there's moments where I'm like, I'm a little confused. Yeah. But that's just Vegapunk, and you know, if you have other things to say about Vegapunk, feel free.
No, I think I gotta said my piece. I do really like the characterization of him right now. Although, like, I will admit that some of the stuff around him, I think, should be a little different. Like Kuma, just don't want to go ahead and go along with it when he's there. Fine. But like, yeah, I love his characterization. Although I do feel like, yeah, I do wish the series treated him with a bit more of the morally gray outline he has.
Characters should have to be responsible for their actions, which has happened in the series in the past, which is why it's so confusing when characters in the modern day don't feel like they're responsible for their actions. You know what I mean?
Maybe Vegapunk will just come up at some point, but who knows?
Maybe after he joins the Straw Hats.
Nope, it's not Vegapunk. It's gonna be whatever her name is, the evil one. The hot one.
True.
Can't remember her name.
Which one? There's like 2 quote-unquote hot ones. Lilith and York. York's the
Lilith, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Lilith's the like normal one. York's the fatty that is evil.
Yeah.
So the other character I want to shit talk. Man, Dragon, is he going to do anything in the series?
I know, like, if we were going to hit like a put up or shut up moment, surely this is it in the Kuma flashback.
My favorite thing I saw somebody did an edit, where not an edit, but they just took 2 panels from 2 chapters back to back. So there's a panel where Kuma joins the revolutionaries. Ivanka comes back and it's like they saved them from the prison, and Kuma joins. There's that panel where Dragon says, "You won't regret joining up with us." The next chapter has him leaving and Dragon being like, "Sorry for your regrets." It's hilarious.
Oh no!
It's like
You're right though. That is hilarious.
it's so bad. Not bad from like a sense of like story writing. It's just like, so we're supposed to believe Dragon's the world's most wanted man and that he does all this horrible shit and like, not horrible shit per se, but like he upends all these governments in a bunch of different places and is just like a troublemaker. I'd like to see him do any of that.
Yeah.
He hasn't done anything, and every time we cut to him, he's literally drinking wine and saying, "Man, that sucks," to whatever the relevant character is. It's literally every time we see him. Does he do anything, bro? When in Lopetown, when he stops Smoker, he doesn't do anything. He just holds Smoker's weapon and goes, "The winds of fate will turn," and and then in the most recent chapter, he's like, "Oh," he says to Kuma, "Oh, you gotta let the winds of fate turn." And can you do something? The head of your Eastern Division got kidnapped by the Celestial scumbags, the Celestial sexual assaulters. Like, you can't do anything but stand back and be like, "Ooh, that sucks, Kuma, man. Hey, good luck, man." Like, it feels so fucking weird.
That reaction was so weird.
Especially because he's Luffy's dad and Garp's son. We've seen both of these characters go through literal hell to save the people that are important to them. Meanwhile, Dragon's like, "Hey, she's kidnapped. Yeah, sucks." Huh?
What you gonna do?
I gotta shame that. Like, bro, go and save her. What are you doing?
Go and do something.
Go and do fucking anything.
Please.
Holy shit. It's crazy. And that brings up another kind of factor. I love Garp. There's getting to a thin line where you can't really excuse Garp's actions as much anymore. Because in the most recent chapters, we've had some extension on the Celestial Dragons, what they like to do for sport, hunting down slaves. On top of that,
yeah,
kidnapping women and making them forcibly their wives, among other things. And I get it. Garp wants to work from the inside to make a better system, and he doesn't respect the Celestial Dragons. But you're still working under these people, whether or not you delude yourself to believing that you're on their side. You know what I mean? And when he didn't want to show up to like the God Valley, we didn't want to show up to God Valley until Roger was there, and like the whole God Valley situation is like really weird to me, because it's like, what is Garp like? Garp, he's just chilling, doing nothing on vacation, and then he's like, "Oh, Roger's there. I gotta go deal with this now." Like, now that Roger's there, I didn't care that the other dude was there. Fucking what's his name? Rocks de Chilhouette, who we don't get to see yet.
Nope.
He doesn't care about him, and the fact that it's reports that he's like, killing Celestial Dragons and slaves. But as soon as Roger shows up, that's where the issue comes in, and we know eventually that they teamed up and worked together to stop Rocks and that kind of thing. But it's still strange. It's a little peculiar.
I'm really curious. I will say one thing on that end that like at the moment, because we don't know exactly when Garp developed a moral compass. Arguably, he still doesn't have one.
Mm-hmm.
But I could very well see Garp not having a moral compass yet.
I think
maybe that'll actually be a thing, but
I think Garp has a moral compass, but it's like the story yet again. Like the story's, it's trying to do these heavy themes but it's ignoring the fact that you have these established characters that have these ways of thinking. And so basically what we have to assume is that Garp is either stupid or ignorant or willingly doing this despite knowing this stuff. And it's like it doesn't put your characters in a good light. when you make a new part of a story and kind of ignore the old sections, or not ignore, but like don't think about the implication with the old sections, you're going to have situations like this where your characters act different than what the people reading would think they would act.
Yeah.
And that's not...
That being said,
it's not okay.
The only way I could see him really salvaging this is if Garp and Dradin actually end up being the most alike. Because, like, yep, we're both gonna solve this.
And I assume
in
that's
100 years.
I assume that's more or less what they are. But it just feels like both of those characters are like, do something, you know? Like, and obviously Garp is doing his own thing, and he's, you know, trying to save Kobe. And he's now in trouble because of it. Like,
yeah. It's like arguably the only time Garp has ever done anything in this series is save Kobe. Like, even Fujitora has done more than Garp.
Save Kobe and the Gods Valley incident. Those are the two things that we know that Garp has done, essentially. And chase around Luffy needlessly because he's not actually trying to hurt him.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on the dragon stuff.
Yeah, the dragon's just, it's insulting, it feels like. This character that's supposed to be built up literally isn't doing anything. Have him do something. And this isn't just an issue with Dragon per se. There are other characters that I feel like have needed to do something for a long time. Cough Cough Mihawk, among others, where it's just like they don't do anything.
At least Mihawk being lazy is like his characterization from the start.
Not completely incorrect. I've been reacting to AJ. He's been commenting the whole time in my chat.
AJ,
But he
no.
says maybe the people reading is thinking wrong, is what he said. Think about it that way.
I mean, manga readers are often wrong, about 99% of the time, in my experience.
It's true.
Outside of me, of course, I have not once been wrong.
It's a fact.
Yeah, not me thinking that advanced armament hockey this entire time was actually an application of Supreme Cane hockey because I missed a panel in my first read-through. Didn't realize that until today.
No, they can be separate.
Well, no, I literally, because, like, there's the panel where, like, literally there's the panel, because I'm rereading it, and I'm on Wano now on my reread. And there's, like, literally the panel where Luffy's, like, thinking back to what, Rayleigh did at the auction hall way back in Sabati. And he's like, I know he used the same color of armament that I'm using, so how did he do it? And I'm just like, oh, I just missed that panel, didn't I? I just completely missed that on my first read-through. Whoops.
Yeah.
That being, oh yeah, so I've been rereading One Piece.
Yep.
And my arc rankings have updated.
Yeah.
So number 1 is still Enies Lobby Water 7.
AJ, you're so right. I forgot to hit the done button. I updated the game. I forgot to hit the done button. So I updated the game.
Thank you, AJ. So helpful.
But so I was playing Stardew Valley that whole time.
So
AJ, I know you're not that stupid. Stop acting like it. Stop acting like it. AJ, I know you.
Hey, be nice to the people in your chat.
He's saying he really thought it was a Stardew Valley mod. AJ, I know you're not that dumb. You can fool other people. You can't fool me, AJ.
These Stardew Valley mods are just crazy. What was I saying? All right, my ARC rankings. So number 1 is still Enislavi Water 7. Number 2 now is Whole Cake.
Okay.
Number 3 is Sky Peak. Yeah.
All right.
So Whole Cake and Sky Pea just swapped basically.
Yeah.
Whole Cake was actually even better than I remembered it, and I already
Whole Cake is so fucking good. It's so weird seeing the difference between how they wrote a Yonko in Whole Cake versus how they wrote a Yonko in Wano. In Whole Cake, it felt like if you were within 100 feet of Big Mom, you were gonna get fucking destroyed. In Wano, if you were in 100 feet of within 100 feet of Kaido, you were in the safe zone, brother. Nobody died anywhere near Kaido, but when people walked away from Kaido, they died to explosions and stuff like that. Being next to Kaido was the safest place in the whole damn raid.
Whole Cake was so good.
Whole Cake was
I completely
great.
forgot just how good Chopper and Brook are in Whole Cake.
Mm-hmm. Because
like legit,
it's this little thing that they do. It's called letting them be characters.
like
for just a little bit, they let them out of the cage. Let them be characters.
Yeah, they let them out of the cage. Oh god, like Nami, Chopper, Brook, all of them are just so phenomenal the entire time. Like I had completely forgotten that Brook fights Big Mom twice and survives.
Yeah. It's such a great moment for the character, like
yeah,
them standing
Chopper
up for their morals in this one.
A punch from Big Mom.
Mm-hmm.
And this is
something that it feels weighty. Like it's something that feels important. Like it's something that feels like they did this and it really helped out, as opposed to in Wano, where we got 4 of the supernovas fighting Kaido, and it doesn't fucking matter who takes hits or who throws hits or who gives a fuck.
Yeah. But yeah, I forgot just how much I love Whole Cake. Like Chopper taking the punch from Big Mom and Dart Point. Like he only took the one and probably couldn't take any more, but he took that one.
Mm-hmm. No, I just love the ending really of Whole Cake, where the Straw Hats are just running away, and Jinbei comes to save them with the Sun Pirates, and they're like, "We gotta get out of here." And Jinbei's like, "Don't worry, we'll cover you." And then it's just Big Mom like singing as they leave with like, you don't know if they're gonna survive this. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's like they are fishmen in the water. If anyone could get out of it, it's them. But at the same time, Big Mom is just so terrifying.
Big Mom is so terrifying, and she's just singing, and like like as the Straw Hats leave, and it just looks like a terrifying vision, like, which makes it genuinely feel great when Jinbei shows back up in Wano.
Yeah, even though that's like just about the exact moment.
Just about the moment where the series, Act 3, just about the moment when the series gets a little suspicious. But Act 1 and 2 of Wano are really good, so
Yeah, that's true. I forgot how good Acts 1 and 2 are. I think I'm about halfway through Act 2 at the moment.
The issues is that there's some stuff set up in Act 2 that gets actually like retroactively ruined because of how bad Act 3 is. Like I remember when
But
Usopp was selling snake oil and the poor little girl was trying to save her father who dies with the snake oil. And it was like, oh, Usopp, you really fucked up with this one, you fucking idiot. There's no payoff to that.
yeah, no repercussions for that. No moments for Usopp.
No moments for anyone anymore. Whole cake is the last time we get anyone but Luffy getting moments, basically.
Pretty close to it.
And people are having
There's
suspicions that
I wanted to say.
people are having suspicions that Frankie's going to do something in Egghead here at the end.
Yeah, he did it already.
Well, that's what
Saved Luffy's life.
people were making like theories where they were like, he's gonna like Kuma's gonna show up and like try to do stuff to Saturn or whatever. That's what people are expecting, and then Kuma's gonna die in the process, and that Frankie, you know, who doesn't want he never wanted a devil fruit, he said in the past. Frankie will take up the pawpaw fruit and he'll, you know, because he has to in the moment. And I'm like, guys, I understand wanting your characters to have these moments. Here's what's going to happen: is Frankie's going to get overshadowed by, you know, the clones and like the the other random shit that's going to be brought up in this arc, and like Frankie's not going to be mentioned again.
Yeah. Having said, also, Dressrosa, and I was a little worried about it, like going into it on the reread. It is, in fact, better on the reread.
I think Dressrosa,
and I already thought it was.
I appreciated it so much more in the reread, because I remember reading online, people were like, "Oh, Duffy's such a great villain. I love Duffy. I love Duffy." And I was like, I didn't get that when I read the thing first. So when I'm at reread, I was like, I got to pay attention and make sure that I understand this character a little bit more. And I was like, wow, I'm actually very surprised about how much I like this character compared to my first read through.
Yeah, it's so endangered. Like I always liked Doflamingo. I always thought he was really good, but like there were some of those little moments that I just missed. Like specifically the fact that like the entire sequence of Doflamingo is having a nightmare about his past and like, you know, his trauma of part of what made him so awful. Only part, a small part. So he's having like a, you know, a traumatic flashback.
Mm-hmm.
He is having that flashback while he is researching what happened to Law, this child that has just come under his care that he feels a kinship with.
Mm-hmm. And it's such a nice moment too. It's like,
and then he starts guzzling alcohol.
it's such a nice moment. You could literally not even like read the rest of the arc. You could literally just read like those couple of panels and completely understand almost all the motivations of the character.
Yeah, and it is just so phenomenally
It's so
good.
well done.
Also, Sanji's entire so like I know we were kind of saying that like the only real Sanji after Water 7 is in Whole Cake Island.
Mm-hmm.
Which is still most kind of true, but I also have a lot more appreciation for the arc that they set up with Sanji, because I still think he's awful in Fishman Island.
Yep.
But in Dressrosa, he's actually really good.
Yeah.
Like, there's still like the haha funny pervert where he like bleeds all over himself excessively.
And I think that's
But the
helped.
fact that he just like, oh, go on.
I think that's helped by he's the character he's playing opposite of Viola. Is that her name? What's her name?
Yeah, it's Viola.
Okay, yeah. It helps that she's a very well written and interesting character.
Yeah.
To bounce off of him.
So it's like Sanji is 100% getting played here. Like, that's the whole point. Like, she is laser focused on manipulating Sanji. That is her task right now. And he is just so committed to believing a woman that he literally convinces her to, like, break off from Dofi and start aiding the good guys, like, probably 20 chapters sooner than she was planning.
I just like how so the city's like a lover's like a lover's spat city, and like you love hard and not for a long time, but that kind of thing. And it has one of those characters in it where she's her and Doffy, their relationship. It's not really expanded on, but it's kind of just hinted at in the background.
Yeah.
Where it's like they have a past relationship and a lover spat of sorts. There's actually some people online that thought that there were some less than nice intentions from when Oda wrote the story. Because Oda in SBS said, I believe he said that somebody asked like, what does this mean? Like when they're talking about when they're like kind of hinting at the relationship between them. Like some kid wrote in and was like, what does this mean exactly? And Oda's basically like, you'll understand when you're older. They were in a special relationship with each other, that kind of thing. And people online assumed that meant that he non-consented with her. No, that's not the intention he's trying to get across, people.
Yeah, no, I feel like if that was the case, he would have said nothing at all,
Yeah.
or said like, there was like a unsavory relationship between them, but we're not going to talk about it, or something like that.
Yeah.
I feel like the nature of the relationship was probably not great.
No.
I probably wouldn't give. Although then again, we do know he's a celestial dragon, and we do know what's going to
uh,
But yeah, no, like I read that as like maybe a possibility, but I definitely wouldn't read that as like the
yeah, no, it doesn't seem like
definitely
that's
what
what
happened.
he's going for there. Oda would never do that. Later in the series.
Oda would never do that with a likable villain.
True. A villain that has some redeeming qualities, even if they are a horrible, horrible person.
Yeah. Gosh, I love Doflamingo. But yeah, but like the whole setup for Sanji's arc, like especially with Viola, and then how that leads into Whole Cake.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically with like his interactions with Pudding. Also, my first read through Pudding was a little annoying. I still liked her well enough, but like she was a little annoying. Second read through, I liked her a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically because whenever I already knew like the dad was coming of like the oh I hate you so much, oh I love you so much, like the back and forth. On the read through, I noticed a detail I didn't notice the first time, which is that every time she does that, Chiffon snaps her out of it. Like almost every time like she starts to do that, it's Chiffon that snaps her out of it, and I think that adds so much to it.
That's the fun part of like Big Mom's whole crew and operation and stuff, is that the characters underneath it are all have their varied pasts and histories, and all care about each other in a way, in a kindred spirit kind of way. It can't even be expressed as like siblings explicitly, but like a way that like nobody else can experience what the children of Big Mom can experience, essentially. And
Yeah,
they all
also another thing I didn't appreciate enough, Smoothie's legs.
I appreciated it enough, I'll tell you that much. God damn. I do think I was kind of sad because she's the only one of like the main commanders that we don't see her do anything.
Oh yeah, because she's on the same level as Katakuri and Cracker, isn't she? Or
Katakuri,
is it
Cracker,
Katakuri and
and the
Perisparrow?
fourth one that got his ass beat. Yeah, the fourth one that got his ass beat by Euroge. Yeah,
Yeah,
I forget
that's
the
right.
name of. But yeah, and no, Paris Sparrow is just like a kind of like a head leader of one of the leaders, but he's not as strong as the four like main commanders essentially.
That's right. Oh, also I like Carrot a lot. Like I always loved Carrot, but I like Carrot a lot more in on the reread.
It's almost like she was a well-written character who was written to be a member of the crew or something. And they just it's almost like from the introduction she was meant to be clear as day meant to be a member of the crew, and they just completely fucking dropped her.
Yeah. Like, what an amazing way to like make a character feel more like destined to be a part of the crew than having her biting Luffy's ear be plot relevant. Gosh, how much I love Zoe. Zoe is so good. I mean, I kind of consider Zoe to be like part of Whole Cake Island, in my opinion, because they bleed into each other so directly, but...
Yeah. They're kind of similar. I like the crew splitting as well. It's really nice how they did it.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm looking up... Oh, I found it. Okay. But I'm more or less done with One Piece stuff, unless you have more to talk about from your reread.
Let's see. Let's see. Were there any other specific things I wanted to talk about? I think I talked about the Dressrosa stuff I wanted to, and the... Oh yeah, the fact that Sanji's writing and his arc being set up is also really good. Up through Whole Cake.
Yeah, I mean he's one of the few characters that actually gets moments in Wano as well, which are good because
he's
it's
still good in Wano, except for that one part where they decide to make him
sneak into a bathhouse. Yeah, a little suspect.
God, I hate One Piece. But yeah, I think I'm good on One Piece now.
All right. Let's get into the entree. We've had our appetizers.
Yeah, it's favorite manga time, baby.
It's a little there's a little something to talk about. So, preface this: a former member of the idol group Sakurazaka 46, Yumiko Seki, is a very big Hunter x Hunter fan, and she has a show. Or she doesn't have a show, but she was on a show called like Iukura in Yoshizumi. And she was on a show, and she got permission from Togashi to read a letter where she sent him 11 questions, and he answered them because Togashi was a fan of her idol group. So they spoke back and forth, and he responded to 11 questions that she had. We don't have to read all 11 of these. Some of them are like shop talking, like about like the creative process, and some of them are like, what do you do on your weekends, that kind of thing. So I'll go through each question, and if you want me to read through some more, we can. But there are 11 questions.
Yeah. Actually, can you link to me a good place to read that, and then I'll just kind of follow along?
Yes. So question 1 is, how much of Hunter x Hunter's story did you have in mind when you started writing it? This is an interesting thing. He says first 3 chapters and that's it, which is not completely out of the blue for mangaka. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, for instance, Yu Yu Hakusho was written with like a 3-chapter series, like prelude, or not Jujutsu Kaisen, sorry. It was written with like a 3-chapter prelude, and then it kind of expanded into what it is today. So it's not completely out of the blue with series, but he goes on to extrapolate that he really liked the world that he had created with the Hunters and wanted to continue it. And then his initial idea was for the main character, who he hadn't decided on yet, to fail the exam and then to skip several years into the future to show after he'd become a hunter. But after discussing the idea with his editor, the idea of Gon failing the exam was rejected. So he said basically the question of what actually appeared in the story. The first 3 chapters were what he had in mind. However, he had ideas for the pillars of the story, such as Killua and Hisoka, which would appear at the beginning of the exam. He says he decides on what needs to be done in terms of narrative structures first, and work on the details with a great sense of urgency until the last minute. In that regard, I had a rough idea for the outline of the story ahead, but since the time skip idea was rejected, I had to draw the section right before that part and revise my initial plans. Remember, I probably wasn't able to finish the manuscript that week. So that's what he says. So, not completely unexpected to have a mangaka not have the plans of the story filled out prior. Not many do, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a not expected answer. If you got nothing to say about that. Oh, really? You think so? Cory, you can't say that live on Twitch. Cory.
Watch me.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's I don't know much about the manga creative process, but like that sounds pretty like reasonable to me. Like have your start ready and then go from there. Especially since, a lot of mangas are kind of intended to run forever.
Mm-hmm. But moving on from that. Question 2. I heard the timeline and character details are all connected. When creating character details, what do you refer to? So he says character details are broadly categorized into appearance, personality, and circumstances, which are determined in no particular order with the flow of the narrative. To use Killua as an example, it started with the narrative of him being a friend of Gon around the same age. His circumstances, such as having superhuman physical abilities and being in a family of assassins, were roughly determined. Then an appearance was created to fit his circumstances and background, and finally his personality was shaped by the conversations he had with Gon and the other two main characters. So he's saying that when he creates a character, he kind of goes with one of three things, either appearance, personality, and circumstances, kind of builds them from there, and then kind of like builds on. This is kind of like just kind of like him talking shop about his creative process, about how he creates characters, which is kind of an interesting thing to realize. He goes more into it, and like when he goes into appearance, it's like he takes different mangas that he reads, some successful, some failed. Personality is kind of what I found interesting from what he said. He said the most useful reference for personality for him is placing characters in scenes and situations that I create myself. Although I might have a rough idea of characters' personalities, they often do something different from what I expect when I have them interact with each other in specific situations. For example, even if characters set up with a strong sense of justice, their position will change depending on the definition of justice and their circumstances. The response to the other person's objections can provide an opportunity to change and supplement their personality and circumstances. So he says it's the true pleasure, and it's the lifeblood of his character creation. He says if characters don't agree with the direction after these interactions, then the story's development will change. Try to include values, beliefs, behavioral tendencies, tastes, and preferences that I find difficult to accept in each character so they don't become copies of the author, and Gon is a perfect example of this. So basically what he's saying is he writes his characters and specifically puts them into situations where he doesn't know what would happen when he begins, but then like kind of writes how they would react to it. And similarly, he writes these characters with flaws that he doesn't have, or he wouldn't, or like goals that he wouldn't have, so that they don't become copies of the author, which I think is a really interesting thing to note. Because when a lot of people write stories, they do end up falling into this pitfall where they write characters that all characters lead back to Rome, or a situation where like all characters lead back to the author, where they have like a couple of similar things to the author, each character. And you notice that in a lot of like writing, not bad writing, but like less professional writing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting that he kind of extrapolated on that. But that's all I really have to say on that one. If you got anything to say about that question.
Nothing besides that. I can kind of see it though. Like I can definitely see, like when he talks about how like as he kind of went on, like the way he wrote it changed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like reading through this, like it's something I can definitely feel him doing as the series went on.
Yeah, and one thing I didn't even mention when he talks about circumstances. What he used to reference for them, he says when he was young, he used interesting works that he used to read, like his models. But after gaining some experience, he would take inspiration and lessons from failed series, like stuff that didn't succeed, which I think is kind of interesting. It's an interesting take on that. But yeah. That's question 2. Question 3 is, in the most recent arc, there are posters that appear to feature members of the idol group. She asks that she was part of it. She's like, "Are these actually members?" And he's like, "Yep, they are. Basically, these are little pushes for me to be like, if I get to get up to this panel, like if I get up to draw this panel, then I get to draw some of my favorite idols." Was basically what he said, which is kind of funny.
That's so funny. I love that.
Question 4: when did you learn that I like Hunter x Hunter? This is referring to the exile herself. This is basically just him saying when she was on like a New Year's special, he saw that she really liked it, and he was like nervous about like, should I send her a full complete set of Hunter x Hunter? He was nervous about it, and then eventually, like 2 years later, he sent it to her. So that was just him being awkward. Question 5: what is your favorite Nen ability? He says what he likes is the older sister, the 10th Prince's Season of 2 Without You, which is actually named after, I didn't know this, it's named after songs from that idol group, so it's kind of funny. But he says that's like his favorite personally. But the one he would like to use the most is the younger sisters, the 11th Prince, the Secret Door. And he says it would save me travel time and expenses, and if my lower back happened to go out during the trip, I could use it to crawl to a hospital.
It's so sad, but he's so honest.
So number 6, what Greed Island cards would you like to use? He talks about when he had a kid, the one that he would want the most was the Panda Maid, the maid where it's just a maid that's a panda, essentially. He says, currently, though, I go back between Angel's Breath and Sleeping Girl, which Angel's Breath is obviously the one that heals injuries. Sleeping Girl is the one that lets you stay up for 24 hours without having to sleep as a girl sleeps for you. So he says he struggles between those two depending on how his health feels that week. Question 7. The cut to black scene at Miriam's final moments had a profound effect on me. Did you plan to write it like that from the beginning? So he says, almost all the panel layouts are decided right before or during the storyboard process when the tension is as high as possible, and this was the case for the idea of having several pages of speech bubbles on black backgrounds divided vertically. While drawing the chapter's backgrounds, I thought of a part of a series called Fumiko Kono's Towns of Evening Calm, Country of Cherry Blossoms, remembering the scene as a sequence of monologue-only panels on white backgrounds divided vertically. When I reread it later, I realized it was my imagination, and that I had mistakenly confused it with panels from another scene. It was then that I decided to continue the exchange between Komugi and Meruem in pitch black panels. Most people from the generation before me will remember Ashita no Joe, which is a very famous boxing manga from the old days. When they think of a famous scene of a character who's burned as brightly as they could, for my generation, Ro from Fist of the North Star would get a piece of that pie. What they both have in common is their use of kakiyami, a shading technique that can involve cross-hatching to portray an emotional moment. I've always wanted to take on that challenge, and my wish came true with a double-page spread of Komugi and Meruem. It was really enjoyable to depict two characters who found the meaning of life in the process rather than the result, and I'm satisfied that I was able to reach that double-page spread as the culmination of everything. So just really nice, like him getting motivation and inspiration from past series that he's enjoyed, and he felt like he really nailed the execution. And Togashi, let me tell you, you did.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. Also, personally, hysterical the fact that the inspiration for part of that was misremembering a scene. I feel seen.
Question 8, what do you do on your days off? What are you currently into? He says, I really don't have a concept of days off. And what I'm doing day-to-day changes depending on the condition of my lower back. When it's feeling good, I'll work at my desk for as long as I can before aggravating it. When it's not, I'll work standing up to the same extent and take breaks in a posture that doesn't put too much strain on it. He says recently, after reading an online article, he had a brief interest in ant-identification. He also has a long interest in recording TV shows and then putting them on discs. He says, I'm the type of person who always has sound playing while I'm working. I still prefer to watch my favorite shows again and again. So I end up never watching the discs of shows that I plan to watch later, but I can't stop recording. Very, very, very relatable. I'm very same when I work. I like to put on something in the background, and it's usually something that I've watched 100 times over, so I get that entirely. I did like the, I don't really have a concept of a day off, though.
Yeah. Poor Kagashi.
Alright, number 9. Are there any manga you have found interesting recently? He says, if we define recently as something published in 2023, there's a work that made me think, as expected, it's amazing. However, I'm hesitant to give the name of the series, since I would be criticized from various sides if I recommended it to Yumiko-san, even indirectly. But to defend the honor of the series, I'll say I was amazed by its overwhelming depiction of a true story, impressed by its strength in portraying weaknesses without glossing over them, and moved to tears of gratitude at the character's resolve. So he doesn't explicitly state what manga he's talking about, but people online are speculating that what he's talking about is JoJo Lands, which is the 9th and final series of JoJo, which has just started releasing this year. So that's what people think he's talking about. That's why he says he can't recommend it to an ex-idol because her fans would be mad. And but him talking about like how it's an established series and as expected, it's amazing and that kind of thing. So people think it's JoJo Lands.
I'm gonna headcanon it that he's talking about a hentai, and that's why he couldn't recommend it. That's my headcanon.
He goes on and says, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry if we change the definition of recently to a series that are still being published. I have to name one that I read and enjoy all the time. It would be Oi Tanbo. It's a manga about golf, but you don't need to know the rules to enjoy it. The protagonist Tanbo is exactly like the ideal Gon character that I envisioned when I first conceived the Hunter x Hunter serialization, but I failed to achieve it in the first chapter. The series is an incredible fusion of Mr. Kakashi's expert knowledge of people in golf and Mr. Furusawa's warmth and gentle illustrating in such earnest characters. So, in other news, I've added Oi Tanbo to my list of manga to read. I was not interested in the golf series up until this point. And we get, if you have anything else to say before we get into the final two, the big ones.
Nope, I'm ready for the big ones.
Okay, so I'm going to skip 10, because that's the biggest one. That's the one we're going to talk about the most. 11 says, recently in the latest volume, chapter 37, the amount of text has increased considerably. Is there a reason for that? And he gives 5 reasons. 1, the basic information that has to be explained to readers is already quite extensive, including the introduction of several new nen abilities, the details of the succession contest, and the backgrounds for each prince. Makes sense. 2, in terms of narrative structure, there are several unresolved conflicts that have been addressed during the voyage, and I knew from the start that if I considered the individuals involved in the succession contest, it would become a complex challenge where the various intentions and connections of an enormous number of characters are intertwined with one another. Unfortunately, I still had the spirit of welcoming changes, so I increased the number of characters beyond the limits of my processing capacity. Consequently, the basic information mentioned in 1 has increased even more. So he's saying, oops, I have too many characters. Number 3, I wanted not only the princess, but also their personnel to be more than just background characters, so I made extensive use of monologues to act as both narrative expedition and character development. As a result, the text has become more intricate and unruly. So this is him saying, I wanted to establish these background characters as more than just background characters by having them explain some stuff in the process. Unfortunately, that extrapolated into needing more things explained. 4, as I mentioned in my answer to the second question, which is about how he creates characters, he says, when characters interact with each other, there are several personalities and circumstances to consider. In this current arc, I'm also experimenting with characters and how they feel about their missions, whether they're proactive, passive, or negative, or whether they're hiding secrets. In the process of looking for more interesting story developments, the number of words discarded in my mind is several or even 10 times more than what the word count is just one finished storyboard. This has become a routine part of my process, and as a result, I'm in a negative cycle where the number of words used in the finished storyboard feels small in comparison. So he's saying he's writing damn novels out here. And he's cutting it down.
He's cutting it down to this. Oh god, that's so funny. I love him so much.
And finally, 5, as you can see from my previous answers, I'm bugged as an author. I'm not only unable to find the right balance, but deep down part of me unapologetically thinks that the word count is equivalent to a complimentary service. Words rule. And I agree with him, words do rule. And I don't think the quality of the series has dropped just because there's more words on the panels. Like a lot of people have been saying.
I think I love the Succession Wars so much. Everything that we've gotten for it.
It's really great.
You know, he's really lucky that all those extra characters he added in are all really good.
And in the last batch of 10, he just kept adding more and more. It's like... because he wants these characters to feel more than just background characters, which I find kind of interesting. That's the whole drive at why he has so many characters and is introducing all these characters and having them all take place in the stories, because he wants them to be more than just background characters, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. But we're not done here, because we skipped question number 10. This is a big one. This is the one that made waves. Question number 10. Has the ending been decided? I'm going to go through this. Broadly speaking, I prepared 3 endings for the series, A, B, and C. Thinking about the reactions of readers in terms of approval and disapproval, I expect an 80% approval and 20% disapproval for ending A. This isn't necessarily a sign of praise, I just think it's a safe conclusion that unnecessary to receive much criticism. There's an even split between approval and disapproval for ending B, so 50-50, and ending C has a 10% approval and 90% disapproval rating. He goes on to say, even though the reaction would be overwhelmingly negative, the reason I'm still considering ending C is because it's personally my favorite. But basically my ideal scenario and goal is to come up with an interesting enough ending that I don't have to choose any of these 3. For your reference, I'll reveal ending D, which was removed from the 3 remaining candidates, and if I were to die with the series still incomplete, I hope you'll forgive me by accepting it as the ending. So, quickly go over what he just said there. Ending A is a bit of a crowd pleaser. Ending B is a 50-50, and ending C, the one that he wants to go with, would have people up in arms and angry. But he goes on to say that he can reveal to us ending D.
Ending C is the one that gets me excommunicated.
but he reveals to us ending D, and it's kind of morbid what he says, but it's something that you can tell him and a lot of other mangakas in the industry have been thinking of recently, in relation to like their work and their work ethic after Mura of Berserk passed away last year or 2 years ago. Kind of sent ripples throughout the manga community, where there's kind of been some like health reforms and like people actually caring a bit more about authors' health, which is a good thing. I'm glad about it. Mm-hmm. So after that happened, that big event, and people have been more conscious about mangaka's health, and he says here, more or less, if I were to die with the series still incomplete, this ending D that I'm giving to you now will be the de facto ending for Hunter x Hunter. So, going into that, let's read ending D. At the edge of a pond, a young girl is holding a fishing rod completely motionless. All of a sudden, the rod begins bends sharply, and the girl yells out, her name is Jin. It's him, it's him, it's him. Carrying the master of the pond on her shoulders, Jin proudly says to a woman in front of her, see, Mom, I caught him, just like I said I would. Jin gets closer to her and continues in a hush down. Now don't ever tell me to become a hunter again. The woman nods reluctantly. Jin walks away with the master still on her shoulders. The mother says, I thought catching the master would finally wake her up to hunting, right? She wants to her husband sitting next to her to agree. The father says, taking over the shop and never leaving the island, that's what Jin wants now. Let's respect that. She still isn't satisfied. The mother says, well, she might change her mind along the way. Geez, why are you and Jin so... ... It's because of great-grandma Mito and Grandma Noko's blood, right? It seems she doesn't know that Mito and Noko aren't blood relatives. Her husband smiles. Quietly, refusing to give up, she continues. The mother says, but Grandpa Gon is a famous hunter. I'm sure she'll leave the island someday. Jin, no way that's happening. She yells out from the depths of the forest, from where she couldn't even be seen and she couldn't possibly hear her parents' conversation. Her father happily mutters, "She can see right through us." The scene changes to a shop that has been around since Mito's time. The master is neatly filleted, and every part of it is prepared. Jin's monologue while she is working is, "Mom just doesn't get it. When Grandpa eagerly recounts the memories of his days as a hunter, Great-Grandma discreetly excuses herself from the table. All of Grandma Noko's nods are based on hearsay from others, subtly hinting at the quiet sadness she feels for having not been able to stay by his side. With a knife in her hand, she slams it against the cutting board. Absolutely won't do that. I will not wait months or years for someone to come back with my heart in knots or make someone else wait. The sound of a door opening, a calm and carefully voice fills the room. A pudgy little boy holding plants walks inside. "Boy, I got some wild plants. Wow, you really caught the master. All right, let's share it with everybody on the island." Jin to herself. "I'll always stay with someone I want to be with forever." "Boy, I can see everybody's happy faces. Come on, let's get started." Jin to herself. "I'll always stay with them." Jin to the boy. "Yeah." The two cook the meal with huge smiles on their faces. A bird flies away from the island and soars through the sky. Underneath it is a town somewhere with people from every walk of life. Someone's son, someone's daughter, someone's grandchild, all living in various places and exchanging smiles with each other. They could be this character's child or that character's grandchild. The bird flies away into the sky. Someone watches it as it leaves with their back turned towards us. And that is ending D. For now, the de facto ending of Hunter x Hunter. So, a couple of interesting things to go over.
So funny.
A couple things to go over here. So, Jin, the character that we're kind of seeing this through, is Gon's grandchild. And Mito is still alive, and Gon has married someone named Noko. Noko, if you believe it, is actually in the Hunter x Hunter series. She's at the beginning. She is a child on the island, Whale Island, with Gon as he leaves. And in the original manga series, she's smiling and waving him off. But in the 2011 anime, she was actually changed to be crying when she saw Gon leave. So Togashi probably had the plans for this ending already in place by the time 2011 anime rolls around. It's kind of interesting. But another kind of thing to go into here is Jin is very emotionally intelligent. Something that is not present in Gon. And she sees that whenever Gon mentions his adventures as a hunter, Mito leaves the room. She doesn't want to be in the room when he talks about it. And Noko kind of just nods and affirms things that others have said she doesn't really know from her own experience because she wasn't with him. And she kind of says, that's not right, you know, like he's every time he talks about his hunter adventures, those two get saddened or leave or that kind of thing. And she doesn't want to make anyone feel that way for going off as a hunter. So instead she wants to stay on the island, which is an interesting kind of flip on its head for the series.
So funny for the idea of like the ending of Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah.
To be having the next generation realize that, you know what, Gon was not okay.
Well, it's also like
not gonna do what he did.
It's also like the concept of hunters itself, like being a hunter is like kind of fucked up. So it's like it's nice to see the characters kind of realize it, like maybe this isn't okay to do this thing. But obviously this ending's a little bit generic. It's a little like it obviously has a thematic purpose, but it's a little disconnected from the story as it is right now. But I could see it happening, and I could see it being done well. But obviously this is not an ending that we will get if Togashi is able to actually finish the series, which is kind of interesting. So we get this kind of sneak peek of what the ending will be if he dies prematurely. But if not, then we'll get one of the other endings or some combination of them, which is interesting. And I'm glad I'm glad he gave us this little sneak peek about what he's thinking, because it gives us a little idea of like how he feels about the series as well. It's kind of interesting. I like this take on, because from an outside viewer, you know, you're kind of like, oh, Pog the Hunters, then the series is named after. But at the same time, you know, like I mentioned when we talked way back when we talked about the Hunter's exam, where it's like, this is kind of fucked up, but they kind of like skip past it because it's like cartoony and haha, and like we don't really get into like the territory where it's like this stuff's scary until we really get to like York New and that kind of thing. So it's like kind of extrapolating on that. It's like this. It starts as like a series where it's like it seems like happy-go-lucky and like kind of like a typical shonen adventure, and then kind of expands on that. And I think this is a nice capstone to those kind of ideas where it's like being a hunter is not like a glamorous thing. Like, sure, it has its advantages, and sure, to some people it can be a glamorous life, but also like it affects the other people in your life so negatively. You know, how could you do that to those people in your life? Is what Jin is saying essentially here. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's I don't know. How do you feel people would what do you think the percentage would be on that one if
An ending D.
if that was the ending? Yeah.
I think it could be like even. I think more people would be mad. Maybe that like they're essentially like they'll think that it's just like a condemnation of the whole series if they say like, oh, hunters aren't that great and Gon's kind of like a dickhead like a little bit. A lot of people will think it's like a condemnation of the series itself. But I think a lot of other people will be like, oh, okay, I completely understand where this is coming from.
Yeah. I would love it. Man, I am just so curious as to what ending C is. I want to know so bad.
Well, I like how in this ending as well, kind of at the end, it says like, there are people from every walks of life, someone's son, someone's daughter, someone's grandchild. I assume it's kind of like saying, especially because it says like they could be this character's child or this character's grandchild. Like it's kind of saying like the other members of the main four also survived and also had families as well, which is what I kind of get from that. So it's like, this is kind of like a happy ending ish, where all the characters survive, but characters in the future learn lessons, and we as the audience kind of learn lessons as well, I guess. But it's more of a happy kind of generic ending, not too bad, kind of safe. Like I said, it would piss some people off though. But what would I think for ending C? What would you think for ending C? What would that be? Like, what could you even hazard a guess?
So my like hazarded guess for like an ending C is so like this is kind of my guess, and I don't have a whole lot of like specifics, but my guess for an ending C is they get to the dark, or is that one person gets back from the Dark Continent, brings a calamity, and then it's someone else's problem to deal with, and that's how the series ends.
So, allow me to. I haven't thought about this at length, but I have thought about a couple of things. Ending C, I assume, has it where not all of our characters get a happy ending, and probably not most of them. I'd assume that's what ending C has. It goes for a kind of more, I don't even want to say realistic, but like dreary look at like what their lives have led them to. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't think Kurapika is going to survive the series. The way Kurapika's trajectory is headed,
I don't think he's going to survive this arc.
unless there's some major changes, Kurapika is going to die. He is not making it out. He is on a boat with the rest of the group that he is, permanently wants revenge against, and he is also trying to find the rest of his eyes of his brethren, which is held by a psychopath who has, time forward jumping powers. Like, even if Kurapika manages to beat all of them and makes his way to the Dark Continent, or even if, like, for some reason they don't all die and he makes it to the Dark Continent, I don't see a path where Kurapika survives the end of the series.
The only way that Kurapika survives, like the only way that he makes it to the end of the series, is specifically if he gives up on his quest for revenge and raises Wobble. Like the only way that he would survive is if he extricates himself from the plot, basically,
Okay.
to protect and raise this baby.
Interesting way to think of it. But I think
also, I don't think Woble's living through this either.
Yeah, I think the way ending C is explained to us, briefly. I think it's going to be like a very not happy ending for most of our characters in the end. And I think Leorio, who's also on the ship right now, I think you're a fool if you think Leorio wouldn't give his life to try to protect his friends, So I think Leorio is also in a very dangerous situation at the moment, especially because he isn't as strong as everyone else. So it's like, and we have a lot of other known hunters on board, like Bisky and Hanzo and Melody, and then so on and so forth. And we already know it's kind of being a bloodbath, but it's still kind of contained to side characters that we've just been introduced to, or the Phantom Troop, who kind of have it coming. So it's like we're not too bothered at this point by the character deaths, but I feel like even by the end of this arc, we're going to see some character deaths that are going to be a bit more major. And I feel like that's kind of leaning towards that ending C that he's talking about.
Yeah, like I definitely think that I definitely feel like ending C is going to involve like most of the cast passing away. Mm-hmm. Or some similar thing.
Yeah. And it's sad to think of, and it would piss off a lot of the fans, I think.
Yeah.
But I think Kurapika, 0.001% chance of survival for that guy. The rest of the main cast have some varying levels, depending on, if Gon and Killua end up making their way to the Dark Continent, or if they end up just staying on the main continent and we don't see them again till the stuff with Gyro comes up.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But we don't know. We don't know all the plans that Togashi has, and the fun part from reading this interview is neither does he. So, like, he has a rough outline of what he's stated, basically, but, when he puts the characters on a page, he doesn't know exactly how they'll react, which I think is a really interesting, kind of creative process way of doing it, and leads to a story that has been as interesting as it has for as long as it has, because it's written by the character's motivations. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I think that also explains why a lot of Hunter x Hunter feels so good.
Mm-hmm.
And that it really is a series that is about how these characters interact.
Mm-hmm.
Not just like on a
not just like from a plot driving the plot forward. It's the characters driving the plot forward.
But, yeah, but like on a who are these people,
mm-hmm.
and how does that affect everything?
Yeah. No, but and like, it's such an impossibly hard thing to think of doing. Like, you essentially make these situations and you want to get to a certain plot point. Like, you want to get to this plot point of, say, Hisoka wanting to kill all the spiders. How do you get to this plot point? Well, you have him fight Chrollo, you have him lose. Okay, but like, how do you draw the reactions of Hisoka, like, in the arena, reacting to the different aspects? Can you have Hisoka actually lose? Like, how do you have Hisoka lose? Or you give Chrollo a lot of time to prepare? That kind of thing. And like, so it's and you have to do this for each character that you have on each one of your pages. You know what I mean? Like, when you insert a character, you have to be like, how would this character react to the situation? That's such a feels like such a laborious way of writing a story. Which kind of puts into aspect why the story takes him so long, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he wants to write these characters as if they are almost like actors on a screen portraying a character, or if they're even real people like portraying a character, like real people who are that character. And that's a really interesting way to write it. And I know he's not the only guy who does it, but very few manage to do it and write series and write them well and like at a timely manner, which obviously he doesn't. That is his pitfall.
My goodness, does he do a good job at it?
Mm-hmm. There are very few others that I could recommend that I feel do a very similar kind of style. Vinland Saga. Read Vinland Saga.
I read the first chapter.
Ooh.
Yeah, the first chapter was free on whatever manga app you can purchase it on legally.
Yeah, Vinland Saga was.
So I read it.
Was I think towards the end of the first arc, when one character goes through like a major transformation, I was like, oh, I completely understand how the story's written, like from the perspective of the characters driving the plot forward instead of the plot driving the plot forward, which is, in my opinion, a much better writing style. And it has very much impressed me since. Vinland Saga is really great. I highly, highly recommend it. And
I definitely plan to read through it.
And you can tell the author has a very similar writing style, where he kind of puts the characters into situations and kind of goes, how do I have them react to the situation with their morals and their ideals? You know, how do I have them interact with the situation? Yeah, Vinland Saga is great. A fun fact about Vinland Saga's author is he doesn't. There was supposed to be an arc where they went to Constantinople to do like some trading and stuff. He ended up skipping the arc and like skipping forward to the end of it because it was during COVID times, and he doesn't like to write about stuff unless he can do research about it. So he couldn't go to Constantinople and do research about it. So he didn't write the arc, which is an interesting aspect of him.
I love that. That's so funny.
Yeah. So he releases monthly, so it's not as fast as other mangakas as well. But obviously, when you write a story this kind of way, it has to be a bit slower.
Yeah.
So, but at the end, the product is really good, and I've been enjoying that immensely as well. But you know, back to Hunter x Hunter for a second to close us out, because I know you got to leave soon.
Yeah.
I'm
very sweet.
Obviously, he's working on the most recent chapters, as he said online before. But with this kind of 11 question thing that he kind of sent out, it's been kind of ripples throughout, and people are saying like, does he think he's going to die soon? Like, does he think he's going to pass away? I don't think that he thinks that. But like I said earlier, I think the manga industry has been forever changed by Kentaro Miura's death, which was such a kind of shock to the industry as a whole, because Kentaro Miura writes the series very slow, but he hasn't, and he has had some health issues in the past, but he hadn't been known to like be unhealthy. And in fact, recently, like, there are updates from him that were talking about how healthy he was and like how he'd been exercising more and stuff like that. So like the fact that he died, the author of Berserk I'm talking about, the fact that he passed away was kind of a shock to everyone, and is kind of had people taking a closer look at the manga industry as a whole. And I think that's where he's coming from here, where he's saying, I'm not very healthy. You know, he says he doesn't have a concept of a day off. When he gets up, he either works sitting down if his back's feeling good, or he works standing up if his back's feeling bad. That's what he does. And like, so it's something where he obviously doesn't think that he's going to pass away soon, but at the same time, he's warning people because it could just happen, you know? He's not in the healthiest state.
And you know what? I have a lot of respect for him for being so, like, open about that.
Mm-hmm. And for giving us some kind of ending so that we aren't just left with nothing after he passes, even if it's something that's been kind of stricken from the choices. And I saw people online, the last thing I'm going to say about this is I saw people online stating that why doesn't he pass off his work to like some editors, some helpers, some assistants, that kind of thing, so that he can like get some stuff out faster. And to that I say, I'm not. One day I wish to have some creative works out there. You know, I'm not a creative person right now. Like I'm not a creator. One day I wish I have creative works out there. And many other people have creative works out there, and I'm sure you understand this, and I'm sure a lot of other people understand this. When a creator creates something that resonates with so many people, and they've been creating it for years, for decades, this is like a child to them. You know, they can't just pass off the work to somebody else because they need to be present for every single part of it that is important, that needs to be kind of extrapolated upon. You know what I mean? Like, they can't just be like, here, assistants, here's the plot points that I want, get them to there, here's the characters that I want to be interacting in this. You know, he can't do that because to him, that's not, he can't, he has to be in every single aspect of the story as the creative of the story. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So when I see people online say like, good assistants, it's just weird to me.
I have a couple of points about that, because number one is that, like, clearly they don't understand how it works, because number one, he's already doing that to a certain extent. Like, he has assistants. It's not like he is the only person that works on Hunter x Hunter at all times. Like, there are assistants. You know, being a mangaka is not necessarily a one-man show. There are assistants and editors and people that, you know, are at play in it besides just him.
Yeah.
Number two, it's a manga, not like a novel that pictures draw after the fact. So it's like, he's already been very open about the fact that, you know, he doesn't know every single thing that's going to happen until he makes it. And so if he just, it's not like he's going to write a novel and then someone else is going to, like, make the pictures for him, because that's just not how it's created. And third, if that's what you want, go read the Dragon Ball Super manga. It's okay sometimes, but normally it's hot freaking garbage.
You can't say that on the internet, man. People get mad at you. But I don't disagree.
Or, well, I guess it'd be more accurate to say go watch the Dragon Ball Super anime. The 2 arcs of the manga that were manga originals were actually not too bad. They were definitely okay. Yeah. But that's how the anime was made, and it was hot freaking garbage. For a lot of it. Not all of it, but a lot of it.
But I guess the point is, like, even creatives outside of the manga industry or anime industry or like other movies and all that kind of thing, they sure, like, when Steven Spielberg makes a movie, he can have a huge team of people, but if he's passionate about this project that he's making, he's the director and he wants to oversee every aspect of it to make sure it's done right. You know what I mean? It's the same thing for any creative in any industry, you know?
Is that you creating it is kind of the point. It's kind of like saying, why not have AI finish it for?
True. Just go to ChatGPT and be like, what would happen next?
Although, you know, to be fair, that's kind of an interesting take on the AI aspect, because it's not exactly the same, but the people who ask a question like that, like, you know, a Hunter x Hunter man, why not have your assistants finish it for you and you just tell them what to draw? That's kind of a similar question to saying, hey, why don't you just have AI do everything?
AI,
people who are asking questions like that are kind of missing the point about what it's like to, or what the purpose of creation is.
AI is a wonderful, valuable tool for a lot of different things, including some parts of the creative process, but the human touch is needed even when, like, overviewing it and that kind of thing. Like, for instance, I run a D&D game, which is a homebrew world that I made. And at some points in time, I have been like, I don't really know a name for this city that I want to have in the future, or I don't really know, or like, I know the name for the city, but I don't really know some specific details. So I'll go to ChatGPT and I'll be like, give me some details about this city name. And it'll be like, okay, so here's some details. And I'll be like, I like this, I like that. And then I'll kind of take some of those ideas and I'll implement them in ways that make sense to the story that I'm trying to write. I don't just Control C, Control V from ChatGPT and go, okay, here you go. Like, here's the city has the Gleeborps. What's the Gleeborps? Type in ChatGPT. What is a Gleeborp? Like, like no, it's like you take some ideas. Yeah, no, you take some ideas from ChatGPT. You say like, okay, can you come up with like, I have this organization in the background run by automatons, and I need some character ideas, and it says, okay, here's some character ideas. This person's name is this. This is kind of like what they are ideas, and I go, okay, so I kind of run with that. I take their name, I take some of their personality ideas, but then I have to put them into my world, and I have to be like, okay, what works, what doesn't, what did ChatGPT give me that I can work with, and what didn't it give me that I can like work with, essentially. So ChatGPT, while it can be helpful, you shouldn't rely on it to be
It is not creative in and of itself.
It is not creative, yes. You have to be the creative element, and you have to kind of pick and choose where, you draw the line at how much it helps you, if it even does. So, like, and sometimes I don't even want to use ChatGPT because it's just, like, strange sometimes. So.
Yeah. And then there's there's like I think I don't want to talk like strictly offhand because I don't remember which ones, but like there are certain tools like in Photoshop or like certain illustration platforms and like editing software where some of those tools, like for edge enhancement and stuff like that, I think, where some of those tools are powered by AI, but again, they're not like doing the work for you. They're a tool that you can use.
One funny example, we're running a Halloween like one shot, and our good friend Cory was running a character that was afraid of a couple of things. He's a bug based character, and he was afraid of a couple of things. He was afraid of public nudity. He was afraid of spray bottles, and he's afraid of big boots. Okay. In this Halloween adventure, I had to kind of take ideas from their characters' brains and turn them into like enemies in the setting. So I go to make this character, and I'm like looking online. I'm like, I'm looking for a dude in a trench coat with a spray bottle and big boots. How the fuck do I find this? And I go, oh yeah, AI. So I go to AI and I type in this prompt, and it gives me some good results, but it's not exactly what I want. So I mess around with it for like 30 minutes until I find a picture that I like. You know what I mean? Trained on, I'm sure stolen from other authors' work, but I'm not using it commercially, so hopefully that's not a bad thing. But I wanted this kind of artwork so that I could have it represent the enemy that was going to be facing them. You know what I mean? So it can't be found, and I can't draw it myself. I'm not a painter or a drawer, whatever they called. I'm not an artist like that. So I can't do it myself, so I turned to ChatGPT, but ChatGPT wouldn't be able to make that thing if I didn't say exactly what I needed, and I didn't mess around with it for like 30 minutes trying to find what I needed, because it couldn't give me exactly what I wanted at the beginning, and I had to kind of be a bit more specific and that kind of thing. So it's like, yeah, it can be helpful, but don't be wary of AI. Don't just like rip it off wholesale. Don't just like take artwork from it and then just put it in your own commercial product kind of thing. Like, be smarter than that.
Don't just assume that passing the buck off to somebody else is the same as creating something yourself.
Yes, and take responsibility, I guess, is what I'm trying to say here. Because ChatGPT is a wonderful tool, but you need to know when to use said tool, and you need to know when is not appropriate. Oh, but that's my piece. I said my piece about ChatGPT. We went off a little tangent there.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, Hunter x Hunter, very interesting ending.
Yes, that is our de facto ending for now. We can consider it the ending. Until we get the real one, which hopefully we'll see sooner rather than later. We still have 3 big arcs to get through, presumably. So
yeah, at least 3.
At least 3. We have to finish this one, get onto the Dark Continent, do whatever's there, and then whatever is happening with Gyro. And
Also, in my personal opinion, I highly doubt that the Dark Continent is going to be one arc. I predict it to be 3.
I think I think I think we'll see a little bit more from the Dark Continent. I think it won't just be like the Dark Continent arc. I think it might be the Dark Continent saga, like you said.
Yeah.
So we'll see when we get there. But it's definitely gonna be interesting with all the characters we have going into it.
I know what ending C is.
Hmm.
I know what ending C is. They did to the Dark Continent. They kick Pariston and Jane off of the boat. The boat turns around and goes home. As Jane and Pariston are just sitting on the beach next to each
No,
other.
they
The
kick
boat sails
Pearson and
away.
Jing and Beyond off the ship. I mean, we have to.
Beyond has to stay on the ship and watch them as he doesn't get to go.
Well, I mean, so in the current arc, the way it's laying out is the Hunter Association is trying to trick Beyond into thinking like the fake Dark Continent that everyone else is going to as well is the real one. They're trying to trick him, and they're trying to trick all the other, the other residents on the boat as well. So we'll see how well that works out.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Presumably,
I thought...
we know the characters that aren't making it into the next arc are the princes. We're going to assume that the princes aren't going to make it into the next arc.
Yeah.
We're going to assume Beyond and the Hunter Association are going to make it this arc, but...
Yeah, I thought they were only trying to trick the Kakin Empire.
I'm pretty sure they're trying to trick Beyond as well, because they don't want Beyond there. Because if you remember V5 being like, they were talking with V5, and V5 was like, do not let this motherfucker go to the Dark Continent. They're like, under any circumstances, you are not allowed to let him get to the Dark Continent.
And I'm like, what if we could bring back more than one Calamity? Huh? Anyway, thanks for the stream today. It was lots of fun.
Yeah, I'm glad we finally got to catch up a bit.
Yeah.
Spend half the time talking about Hunter x Hunter news.
Yeah. Hey, we talked about Takaba too. God, I love Takaba.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great Juju stuff. Yeah, Juju feels like it's so close to its ending right now, like almost. Like it feels like there might be like an arc or two after this one, but after that, it's done.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Depending on how it ends, it might end up being my favorite manga, shooting up past Ranma and Hunter x Hunter, but we'll see.
Where's My Hero Academia?
At the bottom of the list.
Remember when we both liked that series? Those were the days.
Oh yeah, listen, I remember when I first started watching the anime, I was watching it twice a week, once subbed and then once dubbed.
Well, yeah, it's because
I did that for...
It was because at one point the author actually gave a shit about his art. And then he decided, you know what, I'm done making this now. Let's just fucking speed through the rest of it.
Yeah, what is it? Freaking School Festival through Amino War, like some of the best anime I've ever watched.
Mm-hmm. I think my last favorite part before the series turned to shit was Twice's death. So, in my opinion, although I guess there was. Twice's when Hawks killed him. Hawks murdered him in cold blood.
Still hate Hawks. Yeah, you know what? Like, none of the arcs that I've watched up to this point have been bad. Some are better than others. I mean, none of the arcs I've watched up to this point have been bad, except for maybe like the class A, B, like little like war game arc. That little thing.
What
that
part
wasn't great.
What part did you stop reading it?
So
is it the part where Deku is all mopey?
Yeah, so Deku gets back to the school after being all mopey.
Yeah, that might be one of the worst chapters I've ever read in manga history. It was a little cringe. I don't know what your thoughts on that were.
So like basically he gets back to the school and that's kind of where it ends.
Yeah, and all
So
the.
I haven't actually seen anything of him after he's back in the school.
Oh, did you not see the part where they're all like, "Deku, you're the greatest," sluicing him off and all that? When he comes back to the school.
The part where they all go out and like pick him back up and they're
Yeah.
like having to fight him to get him
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. It's a little cringe.
It's a little cringe. I mean, I still liked it.
I like one moment after that, and it's the mole reveal.
Okay.
And then I haven't read past that, I don't think.
Find out about that.
Yeah, no, I think the mole reveal was handled very well. I think the mole reveal was handled very well. I'm going to say I think the reason why is because he had it planned far in fucking advance. So he already knew exactly what he wanted to do. But yeah, the rest of the series is. The rest of the series is.
Anyway, I'm sleepy.
Yeah.
And I need to go to sleep.
Go get yourself some sleep. See ya.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Dog is eating your Snorlax.
Why is she
not the Snorlax? All right. Well, Chad, I kind of devolved into chopping trees here at the end, but I need to get what we're coming up anyway. So 83. I need to get that up anyway. And I figured while I was having a conversation, I wanted to be active, playing RuneScape. But yeah. Thanks, AJ, for stopping by, and Noah for stopping by earlier as well, I know. Other than that, that's really it for me. I am in my final 3 weeks of school. After that is over. RS League still has like another month, so I'm going to be doing a lot of that. I'm going to try to get up to, right now my current rank is Mithril. I want to get up to Rune. And I'll be happy with that. I don't think I'm going to push the dragon, but maybe I will. I don't know. But the next few weeks I'm going to be busy. But right now I have 20k points, and Rune needs 42k. So it's been about 2 weeks. So reasonably I could get that, within another 2-ish weeks. 2-3 weeks, give or take. But it's mostly harder tasks left now, so yeah. But after that I'm out of school and graduated. Holy shit. And I'm taking a break till Leagues is over, probably. But during the time I'm going to work on some stuff. Some personal projects. Get some stuff done. Work on some stuff from there. And then after Leagues is over, I'm going to start applying to some jobs. Smile. And so I'm saying all this on stream because, as with every single duo stream I do with Cory, once it's done, I'm reminded that I do enjoy streaming, at least to an extent, and I want to do streaming. Even if, I stop myself far too often. But let me go over to here. It's hard. It's hard for a working man out here. You know what I mean? And I've been doing a school, and I've been saying to myself, like, after school, I'll get back on the wheel. You know what I mean? But I'm gonna be working, so I don't know if I really am. I'm gonna be a working man, and I don't know how much I'll be able to stream, and I don't know how much I'll be able to do what I want to, basically. So after I get out, I'm gonna finish the last month off with OSRS Leagues, my last month of freedom. Probably do some small game projects, because I haven't really done that since I've been in school, and I feel kind of bad about it, because it's kind of what I want to do with my life, is make games. So I feel like I should get back on the ball with that, hopefully after graduating. But these last 3 weeks will be a bit busy, so probably after I graduate. But after that, yeah, I might get back into streaming. I might get back into YouTube videos. I've tried making YouTube videos before. I talked with Cory about it even today. There's a Breath of the Wild video or not Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom video in the works. What's the difference? About how I felt about Tears of the Kingdom and why I didn't beat it and stuff. And I think I've mentioned it on a previous stream, but I ended up not doing it for my own sanity for multiple different reasons. But I do eventually want to get back to working on stuff because there are creative bones in my body that like to do things, like to work on things, like to be creative. So yeah, hopefully, I can get working on stuff. I don't know really what to say. I haven't streamed in so damn long, but yeah, that's it for me more or less. I'm glad to have the chances to stream with my friend Cory, and I'm hopefully going to be glad to have the chances to stream more by myself as well after I'm done with school and I have a consistent schedule with work. Maybe I'll find some time, but who knows. Yeah. But thank you for watching. That didn't sound very hopeful, did it? Yeah. Thank you for watching. I appreciate anyone who comes around, who watches the videos, who watches the VODs I upload to YouTube, which I haven't been very proactive on. But other than that, the only stream that you can expect from me is a year-end stream where I'll talk about the favorite games and stuff I played this year. So I'll talk about that at the end of the year. But other than that, nothing planned because I am awful. Smile. Yeah. We'll see. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Thank you anyone for watching, and I'll see you, if nowhere else, at the end of the year.